Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarvavigno Pashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavadyakta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so we have to see chapter 14. Chapter 14 is entitled Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. The topic here is about the gunas. Gunatraya Vibhaga. So the threefold description of what are gunas. In the previous chapter, we saw there was a whole explanation about Purusha, Prakriti, Kshetraha, Kshetrajnaha, all those things, Kshetram. So there we saw Prakriti presented as the cause of the creation from the standpoint of the Shrishti, from the standpoint of the creation itself, the effect. So you look at the cause, and the material cause is what is called as Prakriti. Now in Sankhya Mata, Prakriti is presented or understood in a certain way. So there they also talk about Purusha and Prakriti. And there is a difference. So Purusha and Prakriti are two things. And both are kind of parallel realities. So Prakriti itself is there. And then the Prakriti becomes the material cause. Purusha is the intelligent cause. And both have a reality. Whereas in Advaita, it's presented a little differently. Prakriti is not seen as a separate parallel reality to Purusha. So that is how Prakriti is understood is what we will to see here. The main topics of this chapter are essentially the Prakriti, the three bhagas of Prakriti, and also Gunatitaha, the three gunas, and what it means to transcend the gunas. Let's start with the verses. We'll start with number 3. Mama Yonirmahat Brahma. Before that, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Mama Yonirmahat Brahma. Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham. Sambhava Sarva Bhutanam. Tato Bhavati Bharata. So, Mama Yonihi. Very interesting terms are used here. So, such as Yonihi, Garma. We are talking of Srishti. We are talking of creation. Now, when we think of creation in terms of what? Bhutas. Sarva Bhutanam Bhava, Sambhava. So, the coming into being of all the beings. There are two types of Srishti talked about in the Puranas. So, one is there is the creation of the element from the standpoint of the elements, and then there is one from the standpoint of the jivas. Okay, so this itself is an interesting thing to look at, because you cannot really, even though we visualize that there is a world that exists before the jiva comes into being, Okay? Any jiva, if we are talking about any being that experiences the world is a jiva. And then there is the world that the jiva experiences, which is the srishti, the creation. Now, even though we normally look at creation, we think there's a pre-existing creation. The whole srishti was created. And then at some point, the jivas come into being. So there is the two types of srishti. But what is interesting is that, as we have seen before, the srishti is a perception. Really speaking, it's all our sensory organs that bring this world into me that I experience in a particular form. Nama Rupam is there. So, whatever is there, it is experienced by me in a certain way. That for me is the objective world. We also know that not every being experiences the world the same way in terms of all the sense organs. So that means this world itself is very interesting thing. When we say there is the world that pre-exists a being, what kind of a world are we talking about? It's a world of names and forms. Names are not there perhaps, because names imply language. But then there are forms. There are forms, identifiable forms. So what would be the nature of the world if you took away the subject, really speaking? So which is, I don't know what it would be, but it's not as obvious as we think it to be. At least that much we can say. In any case, the point here is that when we think of coming into, how does any jiva come into being? So the creation, the procreation, we think of it in terms of procreation. So there's a male and a female aspect, where the female aspect is what is called as a yonihi. So yonihi is the sthanam, really speaking, the sthanam where the being is develops, and the seed, or what is called as garbham, is the initiating factor. So that is the male. So the male is the one that initiates the process of the being. And then the yoni is looked upon as a sthanam where the person actually manifests and develops and grows. So now the same thing is visualized in this particular verse, almost in a cosmic sense. Now, our experience of birth also is coming into being, is there is a male and a female that is separate from each other. So that's where the Purusha and Prakriti concepts come. So they are both distinct and they are both separate. But here, so Bhagavan says something which is very different. He says, Mama Yonihi Mahat Brahma Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham. So, really speaking, what is being said here is the two, that is the Yonihi and the Garbham, are not two different sources. They are only one. So the locus of the manifest Jagat, which includes the being, etc., is really one locus, which is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is the Karana, he is the Purusha, he is the both. Not that there is a separate Purusha in a Prakriti. That's the idea, which in a very metaphorical way is mentioned in this particular verse. So he says, Mama, so Mama Yonihi. Mama Yonihi is the Prakriti. Yonihi here becomes the Prakriti. He says, Prakriti also, therefore, is not independently real, it's not Swatantra. There is one, there's two terms here, Swatantram and Paratantram. So Swatantram is that which is independent, exists independently. Paratantra is that which is dependent on something else for its being. So he says, of the two, so Purusha, really speaking, is the one, is the independent and Brahman. And at the same, the Prakriti is the one that is dependent on Ishvara. In other words, that is what is called as Shakti. So Ishvarasya Shakti is another word name for Prakriti. Maya is another name for Prakriti. Upadana Karanam is another name for Prakriti. So these are the different terms that are used in different contexts. Therefore, it's interesting. You see this, our temple, Sri Rama and Sita, right? If you look at the Vigrahams, normally, so there is Sri Rama is there, Sri Sita is there. There's both are there. So equal, the form. Whereas in this one, you have Sri Rama, who's huge. Okay. And Sita is lost. Really speaking, she's lost that in that form. She's lost in that particular form. She's not even shown as a full, even though she's full, but she's sitting on his lap. And at the same time, in comparison, it's a very small form. Because there, it really represents Shakti. So that is Purusha and Prakriti. What is Ishvarasya Shakti? So that idea that it is Ishvarasya Shakti alone, not separate from the Lord as a separate entity, that is depicted in this particular form. It's very interesting to see that. So he says, Mama Yonihi. What is the nature of this? It's in the form of Mahat. Mahat and Brahma. Mahat is that which encompasses everything, that which is infinite, that which is, so what is this called? Samashti, that which is in the form of Samashti, which is Brahman itself. So that is the basis. Tasmin garbham dadhami aham. So I become, as the material cause, I am Prakriti, as Yonihi. And that Yonihi, I am also the one who's the Nimitta Karanam, the cause that initiates the whole process of creation. Otherwise, in Sankhya, what happens is Prakriti also there has three gunas in a balance. But then it is independent. If it is independent of Purusha, Purusha is always so detached, unconnected, then what is it that initiates this process is not addressed. That particular idea is not addressed in Sankhya Mata probably. So here he says the one that initiates it is also is me. It's really initiated in terms of purva karmas, etc. Whatever is potential for the jiva. So he says, Tasmin Garbham. So Garbham here is Sarva Bhuta Jagataha Janma Karana. So whatever is the cause, which is in the potential form also, which is in terms of the karmas for the individuals. Because in the previous Srishti, don't forget, for us Srishti is cyclical. So in the previous Srishti, there was jivas are there, then everything becomes avyaktam, and it again exists in a potential form. So that becomes the potential for again it to manifest. But what keeps it, what starts the process again is Bhagavan, in terms of whatever the Lord, not separate from the laws of Bhagavan. So, Aham Dadami, Sambhavaha. Sambhavaha is Udbhava. So the creation is what initiates the whole process of all the Bhutans. Tataha Bhavati. How Bhavati? Tataha means from the Garbhadhanat. So this Garbhadhana, this is where Garbhadhana, Sanskara comes. Don't forget. It's all connected. You try and connect all this. So this is the conception. Okay, this is so the metaphor is the process of conception. That's why the first samskara that we have is Garbhadhana. Okay, so there are three samskaras done prenatal for the child: Garbhadhanam, Utsavanam, and Simantanayana. Generally, people do so Simantam they do, but in Simantam they also kind of perform the previous two. The priest will symbolically perform that. But really speaking, the first samskara itself is sanctification of the yoni. When you can get into this symbolism so quite a bit. He said Bhagavan becomes, you'll see that in the next verse actually. Let's look at that. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiyaha tasam brahma mahad yonihi aham bija pradapita. So it says Sarva Yonishu. Sarva Yonishu. So for all the beings, okay, here the individual yonis, like what? So any being starting from devas, just devas, manushas, so all the other jantus, etc. All of these, he says, Yaha Murtayaha Sambhavanti. All the forms that are brought together for all the beings, he says, Tasam Brahma Mahad Yogi. For all of them, the one Mahad Yogi means the one that is cosmic, the main Karana, the Upadana Karana here is Brahma. Brahma here means Prakriti. So here, because in terms of Srishti, so if the material cause in terms of Srishti is what we call Prakriti. So Prakriti is the cosmic form, the material cause, and Aham Bija Pradav Pita. I am the Pita. So as Nimitta Karana, I am the father. As Upadana Karana, I am the mother. Okay. So both father and mother is Bhagavan, really speaking. So here, we have these stories about Kunti and all. So what is this about? So what is this Kunti story? So is it like the Virgin Mary? People ask this question. So Virgin Mary also had a baby. She was a virgin. Now Kunti also is presented in a similar way. So she sat down and prayed to this God, that God, that God, and then she had this, she had this. So there's a conception, and then she had to. So what does it really mean? What it means here is that, so for me, for example, when I think of my parents, how did I come into being? So I have a father and I have a mother, and from them I came into being. So they are my karana. Okay? So they are the cause for me to come into being, for the jiva to manifest. What Bhagavan is saying here really is that I am the cause, really speaking. So even though from a relative standpoint I have a father and a mother, but really speaking, Bhagavan is the ultimate Pita and also the Mata of all the Jivas. So here, when you do prayers, so she prayed, she invoked the Lord, let's say, she invoked Indra or Surya. She invoked Surya, wanting a child like Surya, which is what you do in Garbhadhana. What is Garbhadhana? The samskara. In the samskara, what happens is, so there is it's a purificatory ritual in which, so I purify the garbha so that then the conception that takes place is sacred. So the child is born of a sacred process. So the whole thing becomes a prayer. It's like a prayer. Even so may I have a child, so that is blessed by the Lord. That's the idea. So I do the samskara. Now here, so which God are we praying to? In the samskara, it is everybody. You pray for general blessing. But this person, she prayed for a particular type of a child. So she prays for a particular type of a child who's like Surya Devata. And then what happens? So really speaking, she gets a child who is blessed by Surya Devata. And he has the characteristics of Surya. Like that similarly, so that the whole idea, the Pandavas there, each of them had certain characteristics and personality. They were all like certain described for certain devatas. That's the idea really. Because ultimately, so every being that is born of Bhagavan's blessing. So Bhagavan is the Pita for all beings. Bhagavan is the Mata for all the beings. The whole that idea is at the bottom of this kind of samskaras that we have for conception. So I think it's true. She perhaps prayed to these devatas, wanting children like that. And then she gets children with those particular characteristics. There's one way to understand it in a way that makes, which seems a little more acceptable to us, and not so magical. So anyway, because Bhagavan says ultimately it is the Lord alone who is the karanam for all beings to be there. So, okay. Even in all that Pravesha Shruti and all that comes in the Upanishads, where he says, I entered the world, I entered the beings, I entered you as Atma. It's the Atma that gives the satta, the reality and awareness, etc., life to all forms. So if I want to look at it in terms of the Atma, the self, so that is the one that enters the body, so to speak, into the enters the material cause, into which then the individual becomes manifest. So very highly symbolic, this whole thing. Okay, so having said that, now he goes on to now, so the Prakriti is the material, and Bhagavan is the initiating factor, the intelligent cause. And so the Prakriti, what is its nature? So everything should be the same, right? But there are differences are there. So in the beings, in the creation, there are varieties of expressions of this Prakriti. So what is it that brings about these differences of expression is what is addressed now in terms of the gunas, the three gunas of related to Prakriti, not of Prakriti, related to Prakriti. I'll explain that. Okay. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhavaha nibadnanti mahabaho dehe dehinam avyayam. Sattvam rajas tama iti gunaha prakriti sambhavaha. So there are these three gunas that are talked about with respect to Prakriti. In this, what do you mean by a guna? In here, we have to keep one thing in mind. So even though we translate guna as qualities, so when you say something is a quality of something, usually it is used in an adjectival sense. So this is a blue flower, if I say. So blue is a quality. It characterizes the kind of flower it is. So that's what is called as an adjective. It describes the flower. Now, so the flower is a substance. So there is always a noun to which is connected the adjective. Now here, so when we say Prakriti has these four gunas, so is there such a thing as Prakriti, a substantive, which has these three types of qualities in it? Not quite. It's not quite like that, because Prakriti itself is only not a real thing. It's not an object. Prakriti is not an object. Like even our mind is not an object. I have a mind and I have an intellect. Both the mind and the intellect, they are not things. They are not substances. Then what are they? Substance means it will be tangible. It is a function really. Both are in the form of vrittis. Correct? So if I have to give a form to the mind or to the cognition, the form will be in the form of what is called as a vritti, a thought form. Okay. So these vrittis are different, even though there are manovrittis and buddhi vrittis are there, but they are different in terms of their functioning. So there is a functional difference in the vrittis, but which is characterized by using these terms, mind and intellect. Similarly, so not that there is a thing called mind and then there is a thing called intellect. Similarly, here Prakriti also, we use sometimes the word guna to characterize something. For example, or to name something. Like even in Sanskrit. So in Sanskrit, what are the gunas in Sanskrit? There are two terms used, guna and vriddhi. Okay. So a, e, and u. These are the basic vowels. And these vowels in Sandhi, they undergo certain transformation when they combine with other vowels. They undergo a change, a qualitative change. So guna of a becomes u. No, a is a. Guna of a is a. Guna of e is uh, I think you have to go back now. A, E, and U. A, E, and U. A plus E is U. See, even I forgot. So anyway, so there is a qualitative change that it has to undergo in order to combine with the other vowel. Okay, that change, that letter is called as a guna letter. Now, there the word guna is used in a certain sense. Guna doesn't mean quality. Even though it refers to a change, it refers to a change. That change I am calling is at a qualitative change. So it is some kind of a qualitative change, but it's called as a guna. But it's not really an adjective to the vowel, correct? So like that, here also, with reference to Prakriti, we see certain functional differences in the karyam, in the effect. So if I look at these three gunas are there, and then there are different characters in different beings. And so these differences are characterized by a term called as a guna. Okay. So whatever I see in the effect, I assume is there in the cause. That is how I end up with Prakriti having three gunas. Not that there is a Prakriti which has these three different types of qualities like red Prakriti and blue Prakriti and green Prakriti. Like that we have Sattva Prakriti and Rajas Prakriti and Tamas Prakriti. It's not like that. So anyway, so that is one aspect to just keep in mind. Keeping that in mind, now we say that so there are these three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, that are associated with or seen with respect to what we call as Prakriti. What do they do? Nibadnanti, what is the role of these particular gunas? Nibadnanti Mahabaho Dehe Dehinam Avyayam. Avyayam Dehinam. So, Dehe Nibadnanti. So, the Dehi is the Jiva, the individual. It binds the individual. Okay. It binds the jiva to the what? To the deha, to the shariram, to the body. Okay. So this is the general cause. Prakriti is the general cause by which the material of which this jiva is born. The jiva is the subject, and this subject is the one who gets connected to, gets bound to the body. Okay, by in terms of these functioning through these three types of gunas. Okay, as though bound, it's as though bound. He's not really bound, but he appears to be bound. How is it bound? Bound differently. So bound differently in the sense, so because he acts differently. So the different types of jiva that function differently, they act differently, they manifest differently. And those differences are brought about by these three different characteristics. Is not described. How does the sattva manifest, how rajas manifest, and so on. Bandhanam also means an obstacle here. So it's an obstruction. So when you say it bounds the, what do I mean when I say the individual, I am bound by this body? When I say I'm bound by this body, so it's the body here is all the bodies I can consider. Okay. So the bondage here is not recognizing myself, is the bondage. So I become an obstruction to myself. The whole shariram becomes an obstruction. So stula, sukshma, karana, shariram all become obstructions to me recognizing myself who I am. That is the obstruct bandhana. Tatra sattvam nirmalatvat prakashakamanāmayam sukasangena badnāti jnānasangena chānagha. Okay, so here this is tatra sattvam. This is sattvam. How does sattva manifest? Nirmalatvat, being nirmala. So sattva guna represents something where there is no nirmalatvam. Here is there is no obstruction. There are relatively free from obstructions, free from mala. It says prakashakam, which is in the form of prakasha. So sattvam represents prakasham. Here is light, but not physical light, but light in terms of knowledge, knowing, or cognition. So anamayam prakashakam. Anamayam is knowledge without obstruction. So this is pure cognition. Okay. I open my eyes, I see something, that is cognition. Okay, so that function where a simple cognition takes place without any mistakes, without any errors, without any changes, distortions, is what is sattva. When that happens, that is sattva manifesting. Sukha sangena badnati. Now, okay, so this is a pure cognition. How does this bind the person? He says, Sukha sangena badnati. Jnana sangena cha. In terms of two things, it binds the person. One is in terms of jnanam. Jnanam here is cognition, knowing, and also in terms of sukham. Sukham. So the experience of sukham, like the subject, when the subject experiences sukham with respect to the world, any objects, there is joy, and without any obstruction, that feeling of happiness, that feeling of knowing things, that simple feeling is what is called as sattva guna, manifesting in this person. But this is a bondage in the sense, this is what keeps me tied to my identity as a individual. Takes me away from Atma also. In fact, that's what keeps us going in life, right? Our whole life is nothing but, so this little, if we didn't have these experiences of Aham Sukhi, I'm happy. Different things make us happy. And that is really what we work for, we strive for, we live for. That is also what binds us or takes us away from ourselves. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi Krishna sanga samudbhavam tannibadnati kaunteya karma sangena dehinam. Okay, Rajaha. So Rajogunaha is what? He says, what do you mean by Raga Atmakam? It is Raga Atmakam. What is Ragaha? Raga is that which attracts me, that which captivates me, that which holds me. Is called as raga. So the rajas manifests in terms of something that holds my attention, that captivates my mind. What is its nature? This is Trishna. Trishna. Trishna is longing. So with this whole functioning is called rajas. So when there is longing for, what do I long for? Apraptya vastuni abhilasha. So longing for things which I don't have. Things which I have, I don't long for. I already have. So it's something that I don't have, and I long for those things. That is what is called as Krishna, especially when it starts bothering me, not having it. It says asanga samudbhavam. Also asangaha. What do you mean by asanga? Not asangaha. Asangaha. Asangaha is fear of losing. So both is the opposite. So once I long for, until you long for something, you don't afraid of losing it. So I happen to, so this is an interesting observation. This is what I see, when I see some of these funny things. So there is this one show. What is it called? The way they look for houses, they go looking for houses. So house hunters. So in this, what happened? Very interesting to see, So this person, so that as long as you're not hunting for a house, you've not seen any house, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Then this person sees the house. Okay, this couple goes and they see the house. So this lady she really loves this house now. Suddenly, okay. So until she saw the house and loved it, it was not a problem for her. She had no problem. She was just looking for a house. Now she likes this house so much, she gets so tense, because now she's saying, I'm going to be the most miserable person on earth if I don't get this house. So really, this became like now she's so afraid that somebody else is going to now overbid and take away the house. So it was very interesting to see that she was really very, very scared and upset that she was going to now lose this house. Not like she had the house, but first, before you lose it, you have to have it. Then you worry about losing it. No, even before she had it, she was so worried about losing the house as if it belonged to her. So interesting. So here it's true though. So once there is Krishna, once there is longing, a deep longing for something, it's not just longing. Your worry is not only in getting it, but the bigger worry is in losing what you don't have to begin with. Okay. Anyway, you learn a lot of things with this. So tan nipadnati kaunteya. So that kind of a mind becomes the bondage. Is karma sangena tehina, and binds the person in terms of karma. Really, the previous one was in terms of jnanam. Here, bondage becomes in terms of karma, because this becomes a driving factor for a person to start doing things. For what? Drishtam and adrishtam both. Yeah, this is not just only drishtam, but even adrishtam. Later on, once as long as you're young, then you want to own the world. Once you get older, then now forget it. There's too much competition. There's no chance. You got what you got. But then now the concern is, so later on, the adrishtam. So I want to make sure that my adrishtam now I am going to compete for. So tamastvajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam pramadalasya nidrabhihi tannipadnati bharata. So the third guna is the tamo guna or tamas. Says ajnanajam vidhi. Tamas is connected to So, ajnanam or not knowing swarupam, etc. Also, ajnanam with respect to right and dharma, adharma. That is all because remember, jnanam was described in terms of all the value, either jnanam iti proktam we saw. So there is jnanam relatively with respect to what to do, what not to do, and then there is jnanam with respect to self-knowledge. So here he says there is a basic ajnanam called two types of avidya. It's called Tula Avidya and Mula Avidya. These two terms are used technically. Tula Avidya is ignorance with respect to dharma, dharma. And Mula Avidya is the fundamental ignorance with respect to the Atma. So these both become a factor in the operating. If my whole functioning is based on this, that is what is called as tamas functioning. So it says Ajnanajam, born of Ajnanam. It is Mohanam. Mohanam is what? Moha is that which causes confusion or error. It's called Moha. So Avivekakaram, that which confusion with respect to right and wrong. So Sarvadehina for all the people. And manifest this was Pramada, Alasyam, and Nidra. Nidra is what? So Pramada is it not doing what has to be done. There are things to be done, and the person doesn't do akartavyam in terms of what is to be done, kartavyam. So fellow doesn't want to do what needs to be done. Alasyam, akaranam is pramada. Alasyam is laziness or procrastination. Eventually he may do, but then keeps procrastinating. And Nidra. Nidra is being oblivious. Nidra is sleep, but then it's not literal sleep, but here just an attitude of being oblivious. Tan nibadnati bharata. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati. Rajat karmani bharata. Jnanama avrityatu tamaha. Pramade sanjayatyat kutaha. Kuta. Sanjayatyuta. So sattvam sukhe sanjayati. So sattva guna here, what does that do? He says it gives rise to sukham. Sukham that binds. Okay. Then rajas gives rise to the karmas that bind. And tamas gives rise to jnanam avritya, covering the knowledge. Knowledge with respect to what we said. What does it do? Pramade sanjayati. So pramada, etc. So the procrastination, not doing, all those things it gives rise to is called tamas. So here, there are these three individual gunas expressions. So if you look at it the other way, like from a standpoint of a corollary, then these different expressions are categorized in terms of these three different gunas. Now, everybody has all these three gunas, okay? And here, gunas are also not, so which is better than the other? Can you really ask, is tamas better than sattva? Or is sattva better than tamas? Well, we normally, this is how we have known to think. We always tells the person from tamas you have to go to rajas you have to go to sattva you go up wherever. So it's not necessarily always this tamas is better than sattva, guna-wise. It depends. It depends. It's like asking, so is it better to be active or is it better to sleep? Sleep is tamas, inactive, nidra. And rajas is activity. So is it better to be active or is it better to be sleeping? Well, you can't really, it depends. It really depends. Because if you be active all day long, then it is better to be sleeping because you need sleep. You cannot go to sleep. So it is again dependent on the context. So when it is necessary to sleep, tamas is better. Our whole problem now when you get older is tamas. We don't have enough tamas because sleep doesn't come. We are too active. Mind is so there we need a little. We pray for tamas. Oh Bhagavan, please give me some capacity for tamas, so I get some sleep at night. Otherwise, my mind is always worried. So their tamas is better than rajas, definitely. But that doesn't mean when I'm supposed to be doing things, I should be sleeping. So it's all relative. We should never forget that. So in any way, so there are different degrees of preponderance of these qualities are there, given the context, given the situation, given what we are talking about, and that manifests differently. We cannot really tag one of them as being so superior or inferior and all. It is all contextual, depending on what we are trying to do. Okay. So now he talks about the different degrees of the gunas. Rajas, tamas, cha, vibhuya, sattvam bhavati bharata, rajas, sattvam, tamas, chaiva, tamas, sattvam, rajas, tatha. Okay. So, rajaha, tamaha, abhibhuya, sattvam bhavati. Sattvam bhavati. So, sattvam is manifest here. No quality. The idea also means no guna manifests by itself in a human being. So, any guna manifests only in terms of preponderance. So, when I say this particular characteristic is sattva characteristic, they were individually described, but when it comes to a person, they don't manifest individually. So they always manifest in a combination where one is preponderant and the other two are accompanying in terms of preponderance. So here he says, Sattvam Bhavati. Okay, Sattvam Bhavati means the Sattvam manifests how Rajaha Tamaha Abhibhuya. So Sattvam manifests in combination with Rajas and Tamas. Similarly, Rajaha Sattvam Tamascha. That means Sattvam Tamascha Abhibhuya Rajas also manifests. And similarly, he says Sattvam Rajas combination Tatha Tamaha manifests. So this one, each one manifesting is always in combination with the others. So here, depending on what predominates, the person accordingly does the actions. So different types of gunas are talked about. Different types of preponderance of gunas are also mentioned. Then he will also talk of different types of karmas in terms of the gunas. Okay. सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत. So sarvadvareshu asmin dehe prakashaha upajayate. We know all the dwara. So the gates through which our indriyas connect with the world. Those are called as the dwaras. So it says Sarva Dwareshu. In other words, through my senses, through my knowledge of, organs of senses, my sensory perceptions. So through all the sense perceptions, Asmin Dehe Prakashaha Upajayate. So Prakashaha is born through the sense naturally. So this is here, Prakasha is cognition. So all my cognitions take place how do I know? How do I experience the world? Only through my senses. So my senses enlighten me by connecting me with the world in terms of cognition, in terms of knowing, seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and so on. This is what is called as prakasha. He says, yada, when this happens, then what happens? Tada vidya vivriddham sattvamiti. No, this is what is sattva manifesting, predominant. So sattva predominant manifests in terms of me recognizing my connection or my experience of the world. Okay. Lobha pravritirarambha karmanamashamaspruha rajasyetani jayante vivriddhe bharatarshava. Okay. Lobha pravrittihi arambha karmanam ashamaha spruha etc. These are rajasya etani vivriddhe jayante. So this is the rajasya predominance. So when the rajas now quality is predominating along with sattva and tamasa happens, lopaha pravrittihi. Pravrittihi is so motivation. Motivation to do things is what is called pravritti. General motivation. Lobha is so wanting things which others have. Okay, I can want what I have. There is another problem. This starts with the babies, childhood, not babies, but toddlers. You give a child a toy, and they are happy. Then you give the sibling a toy, then this fellow loses interest in what he got. He wants what the other one has. So it looks like this is so natural that we always seem to want something which the other person, either we want what the other person wants or we don't want the other person to have. So what we don't have, either way. So whatever the thing is, all funny, all the buddhi. So all unproductive, useless, but this is how we think. So this is greed. Okay, so the greed or this motivation to do things, he says, arambha or doing things. This vyapara, doing things. Karmanam ashamaha. Ashamaha is so this says vishesha vyapara. So different types of actions, some general activity and then some particular activity which I want to do. Then karma here could be religious karmas, yajnadi karma, etc. It says Spruha is Trishna or longing, which was talked about earlier. These are all manifestations of Rajas predominant. Aprakasho pravrittischa Pramado moha evacha Tamasyetani jayante Vivriddhe kuru nandana. Aprakasha is, so here is not just sleep. So here I'm still, why? Because it is only predominance. Only tamas means sleep. But tamas predominant, there is some rajas is there, sattva is there, all those other characteristics are also there. So he says, avivekaha. There is no discrimination. There is so partial blockage in quality or in thinking. Swapara jnana abhava. Swasya jnana. What is a confusion? People who are confused about what I should do, what I should not do, what the other person should do, what the other person should not do, etc. So generally, the person doesn't get it. What is to be done, what is not to be done. This is aviveka. Apravrittihi. Apravrittihi means so inaction. I know what is to be done. Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi. He says, I have some knowledge because some sattva is there. But then at the same time, I cannot get myself to motivated enough to do it. It is apravrittihi. Pramadaha. Indifference. I don't care. This not caring attitude, the negative attitude. Then moha, confusion. Different types of confusion they talk about. So there is either viveka, bhava is there, or alpajnanam. So little bit of knowledge, half bit knowledge, little bit of knowledge, no knowledge, or viparita jnanam, opposite. So everyone thinks this is right. I think this is wrong. That kind of a stuff. It is all manifestations of tamas. Etani jayante vivriddhe guru nandana. They always, hear one thing, which I don't know, to me, so I think it's a discovery was, so always we think in terms of predominance. So here predominance, sattva predominance doesn't mean that this is, sattva is predominant with respect to everything. This context really changes. So a person, suppose my characteristic is sattva, so one has to be predominant. So say primarily it is sattva predominant. That doesn't mean it manifests everywhere as sattva predominant. So if the context varies, the whole thing can vary. So in a different context, so I am more rajasic. In a different context, I am more tamasic. In a different context, I am more sattvic. See, even when a saint goes to sleep, so what is it? So suppose as a saint, this person is a saintly person. So he has a clear knowledge of everything, of dharma, etc. And then in terms of all manifestations, whenever he's doing things, is sattva predominant. This person now goes to sleep. When he goes to sleep, now what is predominant there in terms of guna? Is it some sattva kind of sleep? Or is it still tamas predominant? There it is tamas predominant, obviously, because that is how it is characterized. It is characterized in that kind of a way. Similarly, so when this person is doing some activity, is engaged in some activity, then he has to be engaged in it fully and properly. So in terms of characterization, the context also becomes important. So I used to always think that sattva predominance means you will not see any tamas, or there will be very negligible tamas you will see in this mind. But the mind functions in different ways with respect to different things differently. So that's why you find out there's a person like Ravana, okay, in one context can have sattva predominant functioning, and in another context it becomes rajas predominant. In another context it becomes tamas predominant. These are all rajas, highly rajasic people. So suppose you are highly rajasic, and then also there's a lot of tamas, in the sense there's a lot of energy, but there's a lot of confusion also. So a lot of confusion means a different kind of ignorance. Tamas is not always sleeping. But tamas always is, suppose there's total confusion or distortion in thinking, that is tamas. So he could be highly sattvic and a bhakta, but at the same time, the same person in a different context becomes highly rajasic. And then, if there is also a lot of tamas in terms of confusion, that's when he becomes a rakshasa. Mostly they are asuras. So this is how there's a difference between asura. What's the difference? The difference between asura and a rakshasa? What's the difference? Was Ravana a rakshasa or was he a asura? Sometimes we hear he was a rakshasa, and sometimes we hear he's a asura. So really, so asura is a person who, so asushu ramate. Asu is indriyas. So the one who's just functioning at the level of indriyas is called as a asura. So like all of these, Mahabali, etc., they're all depicted as asura. A rakshasa, he says rakshanti asmat. So rakshasa is the one. See, asura can create problems for himself. Definitely creates problems for himself. A rakshasa is the one who creates problems for others. Yeah. So there are all kinds of people in the world. So you asura is an asura. He will not necessarily be out to destroy other people. Rakshasas destroy people. So you have to always protect yourself from a rakshasa. Yeah. How do you protect yourself from a rakshasa? You pray. That's all. You can't do anything else. You can't fight them. You can't fight them. Therefore, there are some battles which we have to know which battles we can fight, which battles we can't fight. So there's nothing wrong. It's wisdom. So a rakshasa is a person, you protect yourself from such a person by staying away, because they have so much energy that you only Bhagavan can take care of. That's why in all our Puranas we see that sometimes these people, so then they become Rakshasas. When they become Rakshasas, then even gods cannot do anything. The small gods, the small devatas, etc., everybody then gathers together petitions. And all the little gods all go and petition to whoever, to Mahavishnu, their petition, you do something, because it is out of our hand once a person gets to that point. So that kind of a person is called as a Rakshasa. Asura is Asura is all of us. At different times we are all Asura. So when you are too wrapped up in just satisfaction of Indriyas, so Vishayas, the world, etc., and losing track of some degree of confusion with respect to right, wrong, and all, then that is Asuri. Daiva Asura Sampatti. Therefore, in the Daiva Asura Sampatti Yoga, right? 16th chapter, it says all human beings have these two types of sampatti, potentials. We are born with. So we always, like in golf, you're born with a handicap. No, you're not born with a. Are you born with a handicap? I don't know. You start with a handicap, right? In golf, there's a handicap. So we are born like that. There is a handicap. It's a funny way of calculating. Negative. It's all a handicap. I don't know why. There's no accomplishment. There's only handicap. You're more handicap or less handicap. But then, so that is different. We are born with something. So Daivi Sampat is there, Asuri Sampat is there. What about Rakshasa? So it's a very different category there. So we all have Deva and Asura in us. It's a matter of figuring that out. But Rakshasa, when it comes, that means only Bhagavan is to come and take care of the person. Okay, so I think we'll look at the stop here. Finish it next time. So all these gunas are described in terms of functioning. Okay, how the Prakriti, so he talks about Purusha Prakriti, then describes Prakriti in all its combinations and manifestations. And then this is the bondage, this is the jiva's lot. And then what is it that it means to get beyond this bondage, So does it mean to just cultivate sattva? You know. So if I have a lot of sattvic qualities to become a saintly person, then is that what a jnani is? Is a jnani somebody who's predominantly sattvic individual, or it is something different or something beyond that? So that is also mentioned at the end. So as a jnani really is the one who's gunatita, the one who transcends all the gunas, not somebody. Otherwise the original idea is that from sattva predominant, you become rajas predominant. From rajas predominant, you become sattva predominant, and then you become all the sattva. And then is that what jnanam is about? Or is it something which is a little bit different? Yeah. So that he concludes with that. Later on, all of this will be elaborated much more in the 18th chapter, all these three gunas. But here, the basic idea of the three gunas is introduced. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.